Welcome everyone for another round of Minecraft Modded. I am here in my creative world because I'm going to show you the design I've been testing with because I need some kind of furnace setup. I wanted something that would handle even distribution. I looked for mods. There's some interesting mods, but nothing really popped out as being focused around evenly distributing items in a way I needed between multiple furnaces. So instead, we're resorting to redstone, and this has a good bit going on in this design, but some of it's stuff I've already used. So let's start with the basics for it. And after I go through everything, we're going to go in and build it. So simple part first is we have basically what is representing the upstairs chest in my base area where I come back from adventuring. I drop some stuff in, it goes down into this, and it's going to feed all the way across here to this point, which is the sorting mechanism I've used in the past. Chicken farms sort eggs out, things like that. And it's basically just you have whatever item you want, which in this case I'm doing charcoal. I have 4 signs, and you see I got some charcoal going in right there. So what happens is a piece of charcoal goes in, triggers enough of a pulse that it hits this, which turns off that, allowing items to pass through this hopper. And here I have what is an empty drawer because it doesn't have anything being stored at the moment. Everything's going into the other hoppers, but this is going to ultimately be a huge amount of storage for charcoal. So if I just put in stack after stack of spruce logs from my, big spruce trees and just kept going, eventually this would just hold charcoal and would just keep filling up, and I'd have a very large amount of storage. But if nothing else, it will take whatever item comes in, which is why I'm using the standard filtering method rather than trying to do this, because I didn't find any way to make it hold one item and not release that one item. That it would, if I tried to rely on this for filtering, it would just then switch to whatever else was the next item once it emptied out. So yeah, filtering mechanism feeds here, and this is where the distribution mechanism comes into play. So basically, I'm using a similar mechanic. So items come across, one goes here, one goes here, one goes here, one goes here. And at that point, there's one in this hopper. It feeds a signal right there. You see that happen. It triggers that, which pulses power to the block, which turns off the torch, which turns off this, which allows them to drop into these hoppers. Basically the same mechanic in the end. And those are what's feeding the fuel into the furnaces. Then we have the same mechanism going from the other side. You could do the same side. I did it opposite side, so I have a spot to access. But basically, I dump some items in here. They start feeding across. Once one hits here, causes a pulse, triggers that, lets them drop down. Works better if you're using a single item, not mixing and matching. So that is something to keep in mind, because if you have something else that stacks, it's going to be a problem. So I'll probably build another set of furnaces for mixed production. But if you just need a huge amount of production or a single thing, like say a ton of netherrack, you dump it all in, well, this is going to handle that because it's going to filter everything correctly. Right now, yeah, you got some stuff stuck there, but it will get pushed through with the next item. It's just, you might get some stuff stuck in there by putting in different items. We go out into hoppers, and then using the same item elevator, it flies everything up one dropper at a time all the way up here, and then it hits here, just ties into the chain. So iron ore goes in, it goes all the way across, it comes to here, it does not match the filter, goes into a control drawer or drawer controller, which is then going to push things through into all the way up to here. I actually tested because default is 12 blocks away. I wanted to see if it was 12 in a certain approach. It's basically 12 sideways, 12 vertical. So I'm not doing 12 vertical, but I went to here, one more block past. It would not place into that block in that drawer. Started a new one with the trees. So that's how far away I can get without adding a slave or another controller. Once again, everything gets processed, goes up into there. If it's charcoal, it gets put back into the fuel system. Not charcoal, goes into storage system. Well, my plan does require me to move something around a bit. So it's either going to be I move things back more, or I have this be the edge of where everything is, and that means it's going to look very askew if I don't build that side in very close too. I want to have some walking room in the middle. I want it to feel open. So I guess we're going to end up moving this back. Good thing I didn't start building in shop areas yet. So one thing to note is based on what height level you want your furnaces at, because of the hoppers underneath, you're probably going to want to have the lowest dropper be a level below. So I want my furnaces to be right at this level. So when I step back, I'm just looking down at them instead of looking straight at them, because generally I'm not going to need to interact with them. So just keeping them a little bit lower is fine. It saves some height, so I don't have to dig too much upwards. And so that means the hopper is going to feed across into a dropper right here. Which means actually this needs to come out. So now I'm starting to lay in the back end of the fuel system. So 4 hoppers feeding in, and then above that is where we have from this direction. I'll just cover this up for a moment. We're going to have hoppers. Actually, no, wrong direction. I'm going the wrong way. Other side. And of course, hoppers, despite my mod, sometimes does not catch everything as it drops in. But basically, we're going to have it feeding from that direction because it's coming from this way, feeding in. So we'll have a comparator right here, which will feed into that. So this comes out. And I'm trying to minimize how much I take out of this. Basically, a comparator is going to go here. Go ahead and do this because it's got to go into a block, which is where the torch comes in, and which is where we have our repeater and redstone feeding in here. We don't need that one right now. So comparator. So it will feed from the block here, sending a pulse into this block, which has the redstone. And with that, we have a repeater. You don't have to do any special ticks for it. And it will feed a powered signal here, which locks the hoppers from passing an item through. So if I just do like this and I go and drop that in, it should evenly distribute across. Of course, it's not smelting anything, so that's not feeding, but we had 2, 4, 6, an extra one. Apparently one of the ones I, broke earlier. But okay, so we have 8. So that worked. And so that's basically all it is. And then I'll just do the same thing feeding down, but it will be redstone back here blocking those. So let's do a stack of 20 logs. You see I have a double chest, so I could put a lot in there. Yes, I could use one of the drawers, but I don't need a huge amount of storage, and it's still gonna have to be accessible. So might as well just stick with something simpler. And so for that, chest. So you see there, we got a single one in there, not in these, not there. So we have a single block that gets left behind. That is the one real flaw of this, is that you end up with that block left at the end. But it does work better than any of the other options I've tested, outside of using like a minecart. And even the minecart has the occasional bugginess where it doesn't evenly distribute between them. So in this case, it evenly distributes, but you have that one last one that locks in, much like the filtering mechanism. And again, if you're using the mod and you're having problems like I initially did, this is the basic recipe: 3 sticks on top, 3 sticks on bottom, upgrade template in the middle, and then whichever one, iron, gold, diamond, emerald. I'm using emerald because that's the best one, the highest level, and I've got plenty of emeralds, so why not go ahead and max it out? And so, oh yeah, got a empty hand. That's still the annoying part, but there. Each one, 32 times the original value, so that should hold a large amount of charcoal once this is all done. So we have the hoppers feeding in here, which means the next spot is going to be a hopper feeding into a comparator here, so that we have that comparison aspect going. So we're going to have a comparator there, and then the hopper right here is facing that. So basically the other hopper is going to go across here. So we'll have like that going. And so when it comes to this point, if it matches right here, it pulls the item through. And that's really all it is once you have the redstone in place. So let's get the redstone done. So easy part is quite simple. You have a redstone piece that comes out, one that goes down. So just 2 redstone. Then we're going to drop down below. And again, you could do this different ways in terms of height and placement. I'm doing it this way because it worked best for this design. So we do a repeater. You don't worry about the ticks. That's just a pass signal. And then that. So it does the same thing that the torches are doing here. It's disabling that hopper. So nothing's feeding through. And so what we're going to do is I want charcoal. So we're going to grab a stack of charcoal. Don't have to be quick about this, but it works well if you put in the signs before it runs out. So basically that's going to keep going until it hits a certain level. I think it was 6 for charcoal. Each item's going to have a different level based on its value in terms of the stack size. So you, again, sacrifice a little bit. But that's going to feed into this, which, of course, is just going to feed into the furnaces ultimately. So you see, I'm getting even distribution across the board of charcoal. And it stops at 6 because of the signs. There's 1 in there because that one's being turned on and off to allow an item to pass. And that's the filtering mechanism. Okay, that should be it. That should feed here, go all the way across there to the sorting system. All I need left is 1 more dropper. And that will take care of the... Actually, dropper, and I need 1 block and 1 redstone torch, I think. And of course, I gotta get higher up for this. And so, same thing I've done in the past. Repeat the signal up. We're gonna do a block above. Block takes the power. Torch on top of that block, so it will invert later. And then we just have that one, and bam, we are done. I can actually fill that in if I want. I'm just gonna do that right there. I don't think we'd have a spider or anything spawn in there, but just makes it a little bit cleaner. And we'll just have that to carry power or carry everything across. I think now I'm actually where I can enclose this side completely. So I place this, and any of them that physically connect, it should filter something into them. So let's go ahead and take this. We'll go, just get all 3. I really don't know how I'm going to lay these out. That's the next thing. I've got to get OCD about this. But if I do like that, for example, and then we just go here and we say, you know what? Here's some birch planks. They're filtering through, and bam, we got birch planks right there. Go here and look. Oh, hey, and they've got storage upgrades already still with them. So they carry the upgrades with them. That's interesting. So that's it for this episode of Minecraft Modded. If you've enjoyed it, hit that like button. Leave me a comment below if you have any questions. I hope I covered it well enough. But if I can, I will try to respond to them on any questions regarding the different components. Again, most of this is stuff I've used. The only real new thing is building around the furnace distribution and, of course, accommodating for the drawer storage mod. But again, ask questions if you want, and hopefully I can answer them. If not, somebody else will. And of course, if you want to, if you like the content, hit subscribe so you keep up with everything. But as always, I'm your host, Mr. Spicy. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to keep it spicy this week, and I'll see you in the next video.